Well, my name is Rita Chandler. I was born in 1947 in Stoddard, Wisconsin, actually. And then after that, we moved up to, they called St. Joseph Ridge. And my parents rented a bar up there that was called Shorty's. And I lived there until I was 5 years old. And then the guy that owned it, his kids decided they wanted a tavern. So they took over that tavern. Then my dad built a new tavern down the road on top of Irish Hill. And that's where I grew up until just about the end of Shorty's. And that's where I had my wedding and everything. So.
Oh my gosh. Can you talk about how Shorty's got its name?
My dad's name actually is Valerius Joseph. And nobody could remember Valerius, so he was tending bar for a friend. And he said, I give up. I'm never going to remember your name. It's Shorty. Because him and I were about the same height. So I never picked up the name, thank God. But yeah, that's how Shorty came about.
That's great. That's great. So he kept that name then when he built the new tavern.
Yes.
And what was the other tavern? What did that become then? That
became I don't remember the next name. We were talking about that.
Yeah, I never.
Max's. Was it?
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
And then it became Dutz's.
Okay.
And that's the Kohlmeyer kids from the Ridge.
Okay.
It's always stayed in the Ridge family. They called it the Ridge Runners.
There you go. How did you get from Stoddard up to the Ridge?
My dad was farming down there, and all of a sudden this opportunity came up about running a bar. This guy says, I need somebody to run the bar. And my dad was tending bar part-time. So my dad said, sure, I'll run the bar for you. And he made a living up there. It wasn't just a bar then, it was also a grocery store.
Okay, okay.
And us kids, us little rugrats were running around all over the place.
Did you live above the bar or near the bar?
We actually had our living quarters behind the bar.
Okay.
And then there was an old dance floor upstairs.
Oh my gosh, okay.
Yeah.
Neat.
And it was a real small area, and there was 6 of us kids.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Are you the youngest or oldest?
I'm the baby.
Okay.
Yeah. 2 of my siblings are gone now, but there's the rest of us are still thriving quite well.
What was it like growing up on the Ridge?
Yeah, living in a bar, parents running a tavern. It probably wasn't the best childhood. I had a lot of fun, but I think it interfered with your education a lot. Mm-hmm. And my parents were very motivated, hardworking people, and they really paid a lot of attention to their business. Mm-hmm. And I think us kids got brought up, I don't think we did, I know we did, by Linda's mother. She raised us. One time I was, I think it was a year, maybe a year and a half, must have been a year and a half. She was trying to catch me, and I was running with a jar, and she just missed me, and down the steps I went, and I got a whole bunch of stitches on my arm. They said my mom got to the hospital, and they wanted to cut my arm off. That's how, because they didn't have surgeons.
Oh
and my mother says, oh no, you got to try to save her arm.
Mm-hmm.
So us kids were always under the guidance of our older brother, whoever. Then when her mother left, my brother Dwayne had to take over. Then Roger.
Okay.
The kids brought up each other until it got to me, and I didn't have to do nothing.
Right. Just take care of the dogs. No.
Yeah, take care of the cats and the dogs.
What were some of the typical chores that everybody had to do?
Well, that's really interesting. Some of us had to wash all the ashtrays every morning. And at that time, we saved our beer bottles, and old-style beer had to go in old-style box. The Blatz beer had to go in the Blatz. So we had to put all those bottles in those cases. And then as kids to earn money, we could go outside of the perimeter of the bar, and we'd get 1 cent for every bottle we picked up. So that's how we got our
allowance.
Allowance. So we had to stack the beer. The older ones had to stack the coolers, rotate the stock, and get up in the morning before school, wash all the glasses. The bar had to be all clean before you went to school.
Wow.
Yes.
Was the beer delivered, or did somebody have to go get it? Okay.
That beer was always delivered by beer haulers.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And Yeah, that was up in the first Shorty's.
Right. Okay.
And then the second Shorty's, basically the same thing, except her mother was gone, and my brother Dwayne was in the service. And, so it was this other, the rest of us had to kind of pick up all these chores. And,
Sure.
I was too young up there, so I got out of them. When
Right.
we come to the new Shorty's, I got involved in all that. Peel potatoes. You wouldn't believe how many potatoes we peeled. We peeled like 100 pounds of potatoes in one night, my sister and my brother and I. Just sit there and peel potatoes, and then you'd wash them up, and then you had to run them down in the basement, and then you push them through the potato slicer, and it make the size of French fries. Rewash them again, put them in ice water, and put them in the walk-in cooler. We did this almost every single night. It was unbelievable.
What other kinds of food was prepared?
For the bar, there was our burger. They call them bar burgers now,
Sure.
but they were the best in the whole wide world. My mom had this meat specially made by Bridal's Meat Market. He had the best meat in town, the best bologna, the best sausage. You want good meat, you went to Leonard Bridal. Herbie's the son. And my mom would order her hamburger for the bar. It had to be 80% so much and 20%, I suppose it was 80 hamburger and 20 fat, I'm guessing. She had a remedy for this hamburger. And he delivered that personally to the bar when we needed that hamburger. Hamburger was always fresh. Our French fries were always fresh. And we had fish sandwiches, tuna sandwiches, egg salad sandwiches. Not a big, the best chicken, deep fat fried chicken. Lots of, my mom was an awesome cook. Once in a while she would just sell some of her, like goulash.
Okay.
You know. Oh yeah, it wasn't a big menu. Whatever she come up with.
Yeah. Were there, you ever do fish fry or anything? Or?
Not like you do now.
Okay.
No. We didn't specialize in anything like that. I remember being a little, my parents were a little intimidated when McDonald's got built. Oh, how are we going to compete against these hamburgers? Only 15 cents. I said, I'll go down there and eat one. So I went down there and went. I come back home and said, you don't have to worry about it. They won't stay in business.
Maybe you should have taken a little stop.
Yeah. I guess I was wrong on that one.
Well, tell us, when would your mom make food all day before the bar opened? Is that kind of
No, mostly she took care of the book work.
Okay.
When my mom and dad were together.
Okay.
And then dad would finish what us kids couldn't get done in the morning or at night. We couldn't do it because the bar didn't close at 1, 2 in the morning.
Right.
But he would have to he'd have somebody come up there and they would finish cleaning up the bar. Especially on rainy days, the farmers always come and they had to have their beer, until the rain stopped.
Right. Yeah. Did you have anything like chickens or any other, like a vegetable garden you had to take care of?
No, we didn't really have a yard, and we were raised in the basement now.
Oh, okay.
Of Shorty's, we lived in the basement.
Okay.
And, but I still am an animal nut. I love animals, so my dad would always bring me home a fox, a raccoon, all kinds of weird things. And I loved them. They became my pets.
Sure.
And then my mom had spit dogs that she enjoyed raising, and she'd have puppies and sell them.
Oh my gosh, okay.
Yeah. And they were part of the family, Maggie and Jigs. We didn't have no yard, no. My brother Roger, one time, I know he decided he was going to have a garden. And whatever he did good. My brother and I raised rabbits. I almost forgot about that. One day, Al and I were just so proud because we had rabbits and we had to build more cages. So we got sent away to Mama. We probably should have known something was up when we got sent with our mother because she didn't want us to go shopping with her because we always were into trouble. And so we come home and we had supper. And of course, Al and I went out to feed our rabbits. There seems to be some rabbits missing. We gave some away and whatnot, We ate supper and I wouldn't eat supper. I got sent to bed without supper. That was our rabbits. So I didn't eat them. I didn't give in either.
How did you get to school? And which school did you go to then?
What they call car exchange. One family would drive 1 week. Most of the time, the Willards, they had a farm down the road from us. That's where us kids would go play with their kids. Us kids play with their kids. And sometimes we would switch. One time, we switched chores. Oh, I'd rather live on a farm. And they says, well, you got the life. They never wanted to do that ever again. We didn't want to live on a farm, and they didn't want to live in a tavern. But, yeah, you carpooled.
Sure.
And first it got to be one family do it and then another, and then it just got too difficult, so they just paid one family. We all piled, like 8 of us, 10 of us in a car. And off to school we go.
Right.
And then down the road we bus.
Sure.
When I went to Aquinas one year, and we got bused to Aquinas.
Okay.
But grade school we carpooled.
Sure. And which school did you go to?
I went to Blessed Sacrament.
Okay. Okay. So you were coming all the way into town every day?
Yes.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yep. So that Irish hill was a steep hill, as
right.
I've had my fair share of little spills on that with my bike.
I imagine there were several accidents that you saw too that were.
Oh, there was terrible accidents. Yeah, I remember. I can still remember the people and everything. You know, there was sad times with that.
Let's see. So you went to Aquinas, and what did you do for middle school? Then you were still coming into town then.
Yeah, that was Blessed Sacrament.
At Blessed Sacrament, you went through 8th grade or 9th grade, and then Aquinas. Sure. And you graduated from Aquinas then?
No, I didn't. I only went 1 year, and then I went to West Salem, and we got bused to West Salem too. First one on the bus, the last one off.
Oh,
it was a long ride. But wonderful school, Blessed Sacrament, or West Salem. It was a very positive school. I enjoyed going to school there.
Good. Do you remember anything about the music at Shorty's, the different bands that came? Oh,
yes. Well, I was quite young, of course, you know, and the band members were a little older than me, and they always treat me like their little sister. And, of course, the young girl always had a crush on somebody, you know, in the band. And I'd get off the school bus, and they would be practicing. And then they watched for me, and then one of them would come out and walk me from the road to the tavern. I thought I was so hot.
That's cute.
Yeah, so the bands, I seen them all succeed one way or another, watched them all grow, come and go. And my favorite bands probably was the first bands I think I played up there was Marv Blehoff. And they were always, to this day, they were my favorite. They weren't just singers, they were show people. The bar would be so packed. Guys lifted girls up on their shoulders. And my brother has movies of the car lot. The cars are just scrunched in. You couldn't get out. Once you were there, unless you were the last one. And now you would never get away with what we did then, but people from all over would drive to see them. They still, to the day, all the bands were up there, they drew the biggest crowd ever. And then later on, of course, they get older, and then they started trying to make it big. They recorded records and whatnot. And so they were gone a lot. So then we started booking more rock and roll. Jack Brubeck was one of my favorites. Oh, he was like them, very big entertainer, not just a singer. And he was the shyest man you would ever meet. He was real meek and hardly would say anything, but you get him on stage, wow, he just explode. And then of course you got those rock and roll bands, and then you get a phase of like the Johnny and the Shy Guys, and then it was Sonny and Guys, and all those kind of bands, and John Shane Melodies. Oh, there was lots of bands. And then later on, it was the Lads. That was more hard rock. Oh, I even didn't like that kind of music. I still don't. And I still enjoy their company when I run into them. Today, like we all went to Lindy Shannon. Get together. It's fun to see all them. Some of them recognize me and some of them don't.
It's fun. Well, some of them probably don't recognize each other either. So.
Right. True story.
How were the bands booked? Did your mom book them, or did Lindy?
Well, Mom would hire Lindy Shannon, and he would. Sometimes he went out of our little area too.
Right.
He booked us bands from like Illinois or something. One band played up there. Gosh, I wish I remember the name of the song. They had one big hit song.
Mm-hmm.
Almost there.
It's all right.
I can't remember the name. And when they played up there, I went, I think our local bands are better than these guys. Well, they never went any further.
Oh.
So I probably was right on that one. I always thought the Shy Guys and Bobby Lee, I thought they belonged on the big
stage.
Yeah, they were really good.
What do you remember about Lindy Shannon? Was he there on Sunday afternoons?
Oh, he was there almost all the time. If he could be there, he was there. And Lindy was a very kind, gentle man, honest to the hilt, and very caring about you. Always was so good to my mom, and he was good to the band members. He always made sure they felt like they were succeeding and they could grow. You know, he's always so supportive of everybody. Yeah, and I know sometimes he was funny too. He was kind of hilarious, but he was quiet, and I think sometimes it would just, when he was funny, everybody would look at him because it was so unusual. But and he, one time, the cops were coming. We got a warning, so everybody runs into the basement, and Lindy ran right with everybody. And he goes, "What am I doing now here? I'm of age." But that's the old story that everybody you run into. Hey, is those stories true about everybody running in the basement? I said, yes, that is the truth.
How did you get the warnings that they were coming?
I don't remember. My mom had somebody. But I don't see anything bad in it. A lot of the parents just couldn't be there with their kids, and these kids wanted to succeed, and this was their spot where they would be found and go on, and to them it was just learning, and practicing, and they never met any harm, and I never known any of them to be harmful. I think it was good for them. They had a place to play their instruments and voice themselves.
Well, and from what I gathered, teens were very excited to see these bands, and there wasn't that much of an outlet. And Lindy had like the Pepsi parties and some other things that were meant just for teens, and even started like a teen tent at Oktoberfest. Right. Because they weren't of age and they couldn't go hear them in the bars. So yeah, it made total sense to me that that would happen. Yeah. Did your mom feed the kids and take an interest in their music? Oh,
they were always grabbing food. Sure. But they played up there a lot of times for nothing, They were grabbing our cook, Elsie Winch, they'd come in, "Elsie, can I have an order of French fries?" And there go the order of French fries, Yeah, they ate up there quite a bit. And, not drinking, my mom told them they could come up there, but they couldn't drink. So I don't know if they ever snuck in. It's none of my business.
Did you ever play an instrument at all?
I did. I played the piano for a short time. I can't remember a thing about it anymore. And I tried the guitar. That didn't work out. So I'm not just musically inclined. I'd love to dance, but no music instruments.
Was anybody in your family musical at all?
Yeah, my brother Dwayne played the accordion.
Oh, okay.
And he was quite good at it.
Okay.
My sister played the violin. She was okay. She was probably like me, didn't go. And that's about it. Your mom wasn't.
Not that I know of.
No, not that I know of. I love dancing. They call me Happy Feet down in Florida because I just can't sit still. And my sister Val was very into dancing. She was a good dancer. Barb, I don't know. Roger was a good dancer. Dwayne, I don't think he was. So I guess we got some musical talent, but very little. And now we got a great niece that's playing in musicals in the college over in Eau Claire. She's a singer and a dancer. I go, well, I don't think you got it from this side of the family. Not I can think of, but the dancing maybe. Because every time watching her grow as little on, I went, wow, I wish I would have had that offered to me, all those dancing lessons, because I love to dance. I can do everything from a polka to a twist. Jitterbug. One guy, we were downtown on 3rd Street one time after my 25th celebration, working at a train company. And a guy was out there dancing, and this guy says, do you, what do you call that dancing? Oh, no. It's like a jitterbug, but anyways, I said, no, but I know how to jitterbug. Same thing, he says, let's go. So we went out there, the whole dance floor cleared out, and they all clapped for us. And what is that dance? Oh, I can't believe not 3 of us can't think of the name of it. But anyways, yeah, I love to dance. And that follows in our family, so I think she did get that talent from us.
Were there any musicians that were artists of color at all? Do you remember anybody, unusual? You mentioned there were some out of town that were brought in.
Well, the Beatles, or they weren't called Dynasties.
Okay.
They impersonated the Beatles. They dressed like the Beatles. Lindy got a limousine, brought them up to the barn. We tried to have a big welcome Dynasties party, the Beatles are here, and start screaming, and they thought that was cute. Yeah, they were from, I believe, from Illinois.
Okay.
And they're probably the most fun guys I remember, impersonating somebody right offhand. And sure, there was others, but I can't recall right now.
Sure. Did you have polka bands as well, like country music, or was it pretty much just
It was
rock?
just mostly rock and roll, except for maybe Mark Lehoffty.
Oh.
That wasn't so much rock and roll. They were really a show group. They were the best ever. To this day, I have one of their albums. They are... They just didn't sing. We had so many people in the bar, and this is no lie, and I know, if I could dig around, and I think I know where they are, these films of guys got women on their shoulders to get more people into the bar.
Gosh, wow.
And my brother on top of Shorty's and took a picture of the parking lot, and there was just car. If you wanted to leave, you couldn't. If you got there too early, you're not leaving.
Right.
It's just jammed.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah. They brought in more people than I think all the other bands.
Is that right?
Of course, even though the laws got stricter on some of the stuff you did too,
Right.
the parking and how many people can be in a bar, I'm sure every law was broke at that time with that money.
I remember them quite well.
Yeah, they were, I would do anything to see them again. Oh, they were just the best.
Where did if there were bands from out of town like that, where did they stay?
Some of them would stay with my mom a little bit, down in the basement with us, a little bit. I don't remember anybody really moving in for a long time, like an overnight stay maybe at the most. But most of the bands, Lindy Shannon, I think, took care of all that, their rooming and stuff like that.
Sure. Were the bands paid by him then, or?
No, my mom would pay the bands.
Pay them, okay.
Yeah, but Lindy got a cut of that.
Sure.
The bands would probably pay Lindy.
Right, okay. And then, did your mom tended bar as well as the bookkeeping you mentioned, and or did your dad tend bar? They both did, or?
Well, yeah, my dad did most of the bartending.
Okay.
She took care of the kitchen and the books.
Gotcha.
Then they got a divorce, and then my mom always she didn't care for tending bar. And my dad would never let me tend bar. I'd rather tend bar than wait on tables. You can wait on tables. I know I want to tend bar. I don't know what the girl thing with him about girls tending bar, I guess. But my mom would watch the door and take in the money. I think $1 to get in. If I remember right, it was real.
Okay, so
real
when there
cheap.
was a band, there was a cover charge.
Yeah, cover charge. Yeah.
But then during the week, there wouldn't be.
No, not during the weekend. On Sundays, I don't believe there was a charge. there should have been, you look at hindsight, money should have been brought in, how you could have distributed it to all the entertainers, I don't know.
Yeah.
It wouldn't probably been much to, you know, because a lot of the bands showed up. They played for nothing on Sunday. It was just a jam session for them.
Session, yeah, that's what I'd read too.
Yeah,
That's
and they rub it into me every once in a while. Here we are, playing for nothing again. So the story of their lives.
Right, right. Were there any bands that played at Shorty's that actually became something?
There's a couple of them that,
Marv.
yeah, and a couple of them made a good record, you know, that kind of didn't really hit the top 10 or anything like that. I don't recall one really hitting the big time. They should have.
Came close.
They did, yeah. They came close. Yes.
See what other things that I have. Oh, can you talk about how big the bar, or excuse me, the band area was?
Roughly? I'm going to say 5, 10, 15, 20 feet wide, 15 feet.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty
and then
good.
It looked like it was pretty tall.
It was
pictures.
tall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and there was 2 different stages at one time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
We took one stage, you know,
Okay.
Mom added on, and then
okay.
that stage that was there went in the back room.
Okay. Okay.
And then we had a huge dance floor. At first it was like this, yeah.
Right.
Nobody really could dance. You just kind of dance wherever you're standing.
Was Shorty's remodeled at all? I know there was a fire in 1960, but was it remodeled before that or just after that time?
No, that was the original when it burned.
Oh, okay.
And then after it burned, that fire wasn't in 1960, was it?
That's what I've seen according to a newspaper article.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then it reopened. And then it was all new again. And then later on in the years, that's when they just stayed with the original size. It was a brick building, so the structure was there.
Right.
It was just, we lost everything.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely everything. So it was rebuilt on a lot of love and family and friends that try to do what they could to help my dad out. They didn't think he could ever rebuild, but he did. And then him and my mom and him got a divorce. And then that's when Mom added on that dance, another addition.
Sure. So he stepped away from the business completely then at that point, and she pretty much was taken over then.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting. So after high school then, did you work at the bar at all? Or
after high school, not too much.
Did you leave?
We were raised to, you get out of high school, you better have a job. So off I went. I lived up there and I had to help. I mean, I was living there, you know, I helped my mom, but no, I had a job right away. I graduated on Saturday and went to work Monday.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Fun.
Let's talk about when did the bar close?
1978. No, that's wrong. I got married in 1970.
Yeah, it seems like we were
right after that.
We were there, like, not the reception. I don't know if it was the reception or not.
It was
there.
Yeah, it was my wedding reception was up there. It was not long after that, so it must have been 1971 or 72.
Okay. And she just decided to quit business, or
no? There was some water issue with a well, and the well would have cost too much to dig, and she couldn't afford it.
Okay.
So then I think O'Neill's bought it next, and they had a hard. Well, all of them had a struggle up there, and then the last guy that bought it started a fire purposely. He ended up in jail, prison. He was quite obvious. You don't steal a big TV out of the bar before you set it on fire, you know.
Note to self.
Nobody says these are smart.
What did your mom do after that then?
But retired. She loved the bar. She would have done anything to stay in that bar, but she couldn't come to terms with it was over with. You know, it was hard for her. Hard. She loved being around young people and the bar people. You know, she just.
And you guys were all up and grown and moved away. And...
Yeah, no, we're all gone. Yeah. And
she used to get out there and dance with the teenagers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she did. She did, and everybody loved. That's how the bar got it. Ma Shorty. You know, they just call her Ma because she took on everybody under her wing. Somebody she could tell they were too drunk to drive. She'd get their keys away from them most of the time, not always. And then you sleep here until you sleep it off, and then you can go home, but you're not going home until you know you're better. So yeah, she watched out for people. Yeah. She was a good lady to the band members and to everybody else. So yeah, and well, she enjoyed it.
It felt like it became her life and her passion. And,
yeah, it was her passion.
You know.
Yeah, I think we should all live our passion. I don't know if I ever have.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about your life after Shorty's and after. What do you think is your biggest accomplishment?
My biggest accomplishment, I think
I
it
love
would
to
have
ask
been.
that question.
That's a tough one.
I know.
Yeah, I think it was working for the union.
Mm-hmm.
I was working at the factory, a train company, and I more or less didn't believe in unions. I was against them. I was a hard worker, and I thought I should be going up that ladder faster than I was, but I couldn't because I was one of the youngest ones there, and the older ones would take these jobs I wanted, you know. Well, a guy, one of the guys at work took me aside. He says, unions are good for everybody. You know, why don't you just try it once? So he took me down to the union office, introduced me to everybody, and I said, well, I'll try it. And they gave me a little job, whatever. I don't remember what the first one was. Next thing you know, they're sending me to school for lobbyists and just campaigning. I ran campaigns, Russ Feingold, Ed Garvey, and everyone I ran lacrosse won.
All right.
Yep, they didn't win the state maybe, but they won lacrosse. I enjoyed that part. I was so thin. I guess that was my passion at one time because I lost so much weight. It was so exciting all the time, you know, trying to get people to join us and have important people would come and speak here in La Crosse. I would line all that up, get the hall, and get the people there. And to get them there, you got to work with I work with every organization you could think of, the AFL-CIO, the Democratic Party, anyone I could find that had groups of people. And the biggest thing I accomplished in that job was they were threatening to tax our benefits. And I went, oh no. So we were having a big meeting on it. I said, well, there's got to be something we can do to stop this. So I said, let's make up postcards and we'll hand them out to all the union stores and then they can pass them out to their group of people they represent. And we'll do this and I can go to all these other union meetings and hand them out there. Well, I couldn't keep in postcards. I couldn't believe it. And all of a sudden my union boss goes, can you go to Washington, D.C. tomorrow? I guess so. Why? He says, you got to go tomorrow. It's very important. I said, okay. So I packed my bag. He sent me this box of postcards. I said, what's in the box? It's those postcards. Oh, that's all we got? No, this is not all we got. So I get to Washington, D.C., and I walk into Steve Gunderson's office. And at first when I go see Steve Gunderson, he really wouldn't have time for me. All of a sudden, he had lots of time for me. He opened his door in one of his offices with chock full of those postcards. And he wanted to talk to me. How did you do this? I have never seen this, ever. So we definitely stopped our benefits from being taxed. So if you want to change something, you can change it.
You know, and you were probably hired you to be his
Yeah.
next campaign manager.
Well, I was offered a couple jobs, and I went, you burn out after a while.
Right.
I did, because I put so much into
Sure.
it. And when I was done, I was done. I wasn't like my mother. She wanted to stay with it. No, I washed my hands of it, and to this day, I don't want much to do with it.
Yeah.
Politically burnt out.
Yeah, right. When did you work for Train Company then?
I worked at a train company for 32 years.
Oh, wow.
I started out as a punch press operator, more or less, and then I just kept on trying to get on jobs. I never could get good jobs, so I went on second shift and started getting better jobs on second shift, because the young ones are on second, so I could get them. I could take all those good jobs there. So I just kept on signing until I got into Plant 7, and there I became a engineer helper. When we get in, at that time we were getting all these new machines and the two pushy machines, but all computerized. So I would work with the engineers and setting up these machines, and then I would teach people how to run them, and I would troubleshoot them. And I had a little scooter, and I just run from one machine to another. And there's times when I had to do my own job too,
right.
But it was a very busy job.
Yeah.
It was nice.
So you started in the 70s at Train?
Excuse me?
Did you start in the 1970s in Train then?
No, 70. I started in 1977.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then I retired in 2010.
Okay.
I hope I did that right. You caught me on that one.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I got a divorce in 77, and I got hired at a train company that fall.
Okay.
Halloween. That's one day I can remember.
And then you've done a lot of traveling, Linda tells me too. So
yeah, I've been to Europe a couple times. Been all over the states of the United States, mostly with the union. What I would do is the union would pay, me to go do my lobbying work or go to a convention or a conference. And then after that, if it was an interesting place, I would, on myself, I just have them make my plane ticket a couple days later, and then I would stay and tour. Like we go to Washington, D.C., that was my favorite. I never did get it all toured, but I got a big chunk of it down. It was, Washington, D.C. is probably one of my favorites. I've been to Atlanta, Georgia. I went to the Democratic National Convention in San Francisco. So yeah, I've been around Canada. Yeah, a lot of states. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite place?
I think Colorado. I'm surprised I didn't retire there. But I picked Florida. That's where I am now. I'll be going down there hopefully in the next couple weeks. And, I was saved the devastation of Irma. Not Irma. Ian. The Irma was the last one.
The last one, right?
I got that. Oh, I didn't have much damage on that. Neither one. I escaped both of them. I have friends and neighbors that have had significant damage done. Yeah. And I'd like to get down there. And I know people in Fort Myers are looking for houses to rent. I want to live in my house, but maybe it might be somebody I can help out. And so Florida has become my favorite place, I guess, now. Wisconsin's always my heart. Packer fan, Brewers. Where you're born is where your heart is.
What other hobbies have you had besides traveling?
Oh, my.
If you had any time for anything.
Yeah, I always fit something. Yeah. I used to knit a lot. Well, now I like to read a lot. I showed horses. I showed dogs. I got horses. I didn't do a lot of that, but enough. When I want to do it again. But the dogs was the most fun. You do agility, and again, you got to start from the ground and work your way up. You got to take your dog to obedience and all that before you can start having all the fun with all the agility runs. And I was working with Shih Tzus, which don't think they should have to do anything for a job. So it was a tough going, but I always dreamed of having a shepherd or something that more into agility. But also one day I says, I'm tired of all this stress. And I got a house. I bought my house before I retired.
Mm-hmm.
So in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, what am I doing here? It's ice cold out. The windshield's full of ice. I'm out there scraping ice. I'm, you know what? I'm going to see if I can retire. I went home, got on the computer. All my expenses were going for my dogs. You know, so I decided to quit everything like that and start focusing on retirement. And I don't know, some of my other, I've done so many things, I don't know. Knitting, that was a big thing. I can't think of.
Linda said something about that you were a billiard player.
Oh, yes,
Softball.
And softball.
Softball, big time. Softball I was good at. Billiards, I was only as good as my captain. At that time when I played, they could coach you how to hit a ball. Well, one time we were tied with another team, the two best teams in lacrosse. And we were tied, so we had a playoff game. And what you do is you pick a name from the hat, and you two partner up. And I'm the worst player they have, my team, and I pulled their best player off of their team. I went, oh, my girlfriend, you can do it, Rita, you can do it. I go, oh, no. I did it.
All right.
My game was the one that settled it, and we won a big trophy. Oh, my Lord, I was the happiest person in the world. And softball, yeah, I'd slide. I didn't care what it took, but I was going to take a base. I couldn't hit a ball very well, though. The only home run I hit the ball that far from home plate, took off running. They kept on overthrowing the ball, and I got home. I went my first home run.
What position did you play in the outfield?
When I played fast pitch, I was a catcher, and slow pitch, I was center field and left field. Sometimes right field, but not too often. And I played shortstop one time, and a left-hander does not play shortstop. But they were hard up for a shortstop player. I was, I guess, the best player, but for me to get it to first base was a difficult thing.
Right, I'm left-handed too.
Yeah, but it was a fun. I loved softball. I loved. I'm still bad at pool.
Were there any leagues that Train had, or any kind of?
Yeah, Train. I was on Train League, and then a lot of bar leagues and rubber mills.
Oh, okay.
I was on the Rubber Mills League. I can't think of that bar just down from the Rubber Mills. That's when these girls talked me into joining their team, and they were a fast pitch team.
Okay.
And I didn't know if I'd like fast pitch, but I did. It was a lot faster game and more challenging. So yeah, I ended up liking it a lot.
Tell us about the stage then. You said, there was a fire. Maybe we should talk about the fire first.
So want to talk about the fire?
Sure.
Okay. We were in bed. I was sleeping. My mom was still awake. I don't know what she was doing. She knitted, might have been knitting. I remember her sitting on the edge of the bed when I woke up. Well, everything was fine when I woke up, but all of a sudden, we heard a lot of noise, and I just took the blankets, covered my head, and Al, you better go upstairs, or Roger, you better go upstairs and see what's going on up there. She says, I don't know if your dad come home. My dad was out for a week at that time. And she thought, well, he come home and dropping things. She didn't know what was going on. So he opened the door and he just screamed, fire. And he says, everybody out now. And then my mom went for the money, trying to get dressed. My sister Val, she's trying to get dressed. You don't have, my brother's flying in there. Get out, get out. We just barely, we went through flames. There was flames on both sides of us when we ran out. We should have, now we know, we should have crawled out. And there was only one more exit to that. And then a lady, her name was German Willie, we called her, Enders. Willie Enders, I think her name was. And she worked someplace until wee hours in the morning. So she stopped and took us kids and got us in her car so we'd be warm. Then Al and I, my brother, we got talking and we went, the dogs are in the basement. locked up in the laundry room. So my brother and I came up with this scheme that we'd get out and go by the window, the basement window, and he would lower me into the basement, and I would grab the dogs and get them to him. Well, a fireman stopped us before we got even very close, so we got stopped in our tracks with that one. We lost everything. My dad had to rebuild. I remember people saying, "Oh, you'll never survive. You just should call it quits and stuff." My dad says, "I ain't calling it quits." So he did. He made it. He rebuilt. At that time, I was telling you, we don't get very many new clothes all the time, and that was what holiday was coming up. Easter. We had our Easter outfits. And they got all waterlogged with the fire, so we wore these beautiful big hats at that time. We lost all our Easter outfits. That's one Easter we didn't get them replaced. It's devastating. You just lost everything. And you find out who are your to-go people who really are there for you when you need them. Our neighbors across the street, Eugene Marks and his wife Marilyn, they took us kids in, fed us breakfast, and got us there until the Red Cross, Salvation Army, different places come and bought a trailer house up there, and so we could live in the trailer house next to the bar while they redid the bar in the basement so we could have a place to live.
Do you remember how long that took?
Oh, it seemed like forever. I remember forever. I'm gonna say it was like March. I think we were open again in like July or August, something like that.
And you were in high school at this time. Right?
Yeah, was I in high school? No, I was in grade school. I was in 7th grade.
1960, right?
Yeah. I couldn't go to school. We had no clothes.
Right.
We had nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It was unbelievable.
And how did you call the fire department?
Oh, we all ran out to the cars. Of course, we had a car. We all piled in the car, and we were all on one telephone line. You couldn't go to the neighbors. There was like 8, 6, sometimes 16 people on one line. So we just kept on driving and knocking on doors. Some people wouldn't answer. Finally, we got to one house. They were scared to let us in. And my sister, she had a coat on, but she opened up her coat and she says, "You think I'm having this is a joke?" They finally let her in, and his phone worked. And then they called the cops. The firemen were, when we got back on top of the hill, the fire trucks are following us. That's how far we were away from the fire. Yeah, if we would have been like a next door neighbor, we could have probably saved a lot of stuff. But we went miles. It was probably 4 miles, 5 miles before we got help.
And that was town of Shelby that came?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, town of Shelby. Yep. And those firemen, after the fire, they helped my dad out many, many ways by just volunteering to come up and clean out the burnt stuff, load it in one of these trucks. And so, yeah, a lot of good people at that time, you find out.
Can you describe Shorty's before the fire, what it looked like, kind of the layout inside, and then after?
When you walked into the bar, that's when us kids lost it. I don't think we at first were grasping everything that was going on. And finally, they let us go in and tour it. And Linda remembers the jukebox, all the records were all melted together. And there was a shelf up above behind the bar, and the farmers would throw their coins up there to see if they could make it. And then at one time, my dad had a bird. He taught them how to pick up the coins and put them in there. All that money in there on that shelf all melted together, one big hunk of silver. And then we went in the basement where our household goods were, like our clothes, and nothing was salvageable. It was all gone. By the way, back to the dogs, the firemen got the dogs out. Forgot. Better let everybody know the dogs got out safe. A fireman, he will go. They were in a drain. There was it was a washroom. My mom would drain. You know, we had the ringer washer, and she drained the water in that drain. That's how we drained the water. And those dogs were there breathing. You were getting some fresh air in that little dip. And the policeman said, "See, that smoke is above their head. They're going to be just fine." And then when it was safe, they went and got the dogs out. So, yeah, now us kids, when we toured everything, we realized we didn't have nothing. That's when I think most of us lost it.
It's a wonder there were any pictures salvageable.
Yeah, a lot of these pictures are salvaged from the fire. What saved them? The fire didn't get into the basement. It was the water damage. Everything got destroyed by fire. Water. It's black, you know. And a lot of pictures, old pictures of my mom. She had them hid somewhere, and they made it all. We had to throw a lot of them away, but a lot of them got saved. Thank God, because we can remember Shorty's from all those old pictures.
Do we know what the cause was of the fire at all?
They think, well, this isn't the new Shorties. Oh, did we have a picture of the new Shorty? I don't think so.
Not on the inside.
I was sure.
No.
Okay, there was a ledge going in from the main bar over into another room, and there was a big neon sign up there. They think what happened was somehow that just came loose, fell, because we heard a big thump to start out with. And then they think the sparks, the potato chips and all that were down below, and they think the sparks got in there and just kept on escalating.
How did your mom promote Shorty's then when she felt like business was going down? Do you have any idea?
Mostly be trying to get new ideas going, new bands. I know Lindy was trying to help her out the best he could. Newspaper ads. It was back then, you know, you don't have social media, so you had to rely on your radio ads and new ideas. And my mom was older; she didn't have a lot of new ideas, and slow but sure, the bar just slipped away. It just wasn't the most. She couldn't afford bands, and she would not live with that. You know, she wanted the bar with the bands, and with the business couldn't promote or afford bands. But she just wouldn't give up. That was her life, and that's what she wanted. So
I would imagine being up on the hill, the dangerousness of it.
Can you imagine?
Something to do with it.
Yeah, a lot of it. You know, and times change. You know, and these kids, they get smarter. You know, why should we go all the way out there when we can go down to 3rd Street? We can walk. Nowadays, they bus these kids to bars. You know. I don't know if they still do that, but I know what they did it at one time. But yeah, it was hard to rebuild the business, and she never did. It just went to the wayside like a lot of businesses. It just couldn't get promoted, couldn't get it back up. I think if she would have changed the whole atmosphere of the bar, like houses were getting built up there at that time, just have a bar. She was an awesome cook. But that wasn't what she wanted to do, you know, have a restaurant. She could have made it big in a restaurant business because it would have been like home cooked type meals. I still make them. And people where did you learn how to cook this? My mom was more or less throw things together and make it good, you know.
Well, your brother Alan.
Al, he does it. To this day, he still does it. I'm not as good at it as he is, but I've got some of her old things up here that I make down in Florida, and everybody thinks they're so good. And that's what she should have done. But bands were her life. She loved the bands, and some of them were so good to her. Bobby Lee and Boyd Sibley, and they played at her funeral. It was really, I mean, Dr. Juice, Provisky.
Oh, Dr. Rock?
Yes, Dr. Rock.
Rick. Yeah.
Rick Provisky. He was good to my mom after Shorty's was gone, so was Bobby Lee and Boyd Sibley. They take her out to eat and do things with her. I thought that was over and above how good they were to her. So yeah, I just seen Dr. Rock at Lindy's. Yeah.
One thing I forgot to ask you about, were there any fights at Shorty's?
Oh, wow, yeah. I got him. Us girls, my mom told us girls, these guys won't hit you. Just get in the middle of the fight and break it up. They'll stop. Well, kaboom! I went flying right over a table, and then the bartender seen me get hit, so he comes flying over. He gets hit, and he's laying next to me. Yeah, and there was always this fighting between, like, let's say, Iowa and the North Siders of La Crosse. You know, they were all little cliques, and they would get in these fights, and they're just always showing their manlyhood, I guess. I don't know. They were always kind of dumb, but there was a couple of them that were bad fights, real bad. I had to go to court one time, testify against a couple guys because they hurt a guy really bad and was, you know. So yeah, most of the fights. Basically, they shook hands 10 minutes later, you know. But there was one nasty one, I remember. That wasn't just gang related. That was, well, I don't think we had called gang clique related. You know? Yeah, because we had so many people like from Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin. You know, sometimes they thought I don't know how men get into fights. But yeah, there was a lot of them.
Did your mom keep, not a list, but she was like, oh, you're not welcome in here anymore?
Yeah, you get kicked out.
Yeah.
And you can't come back. If it's a serious fight, you can come back for a month or so. Now that one, they were barred for life.
Right.
They couldn't come back ever.
Yeah.
And most of the time was like a week, you know, simmer down and get over it, you know. Or sometimes a month. She kind of just used it over her head, you know. It worked.
They respected her enough that they wanted to come back. And,
they do want. Everybody wants to come back to Shorty's.
Right.
Yes.
Did you ever see any soldiers from Fort McCoy at all? Or?
Oh, sure we did. Yeah. There was a lot of Camp McCoy guys that come up there. I remember my sister got asked out for a date. My sister Valerie. And my mom went right through the ceiling. You're not going out with no Camp McCoy boys. They're most of them married. I don't know if the guy was married or not. I don't. But she wasn't allowed to go. Yeah, they came up to Shorty's.
Oh, is there anything else you want to tell us about yourself, your life, or life up on the ridge, or school, or church, or friends, or
playing in the barn across the street?
Oh, that one thing we did to you?
Yeah, you played a trick on
we were supposed to be kind of watching Linda. We weren't very good at it.
You probably got sick of it, you know, how watching the younger one.
Right.
Yeah. So I said, let's play a trick on Linda, and I went and got some ketchup. I poured ketchup over, I think it was Al, didn't I? Was it me?
I don't remember.
Or myself? I can't remember who got the ketchup. But go get Linda and say that we were hurt.
Right.
You know? I don't think we did a good...
I remember it.
Yeah.
But I don't remember how upset I got. I don't know.
I can't remember how upset you got or not, but I know we thought we were really funny.
Probably 6 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. Not good babysitters. I never did get hired for babysitting. The youngest one shouldn't have to.
Right.
You could show them how to get in trouble, I suppose.
Oh, yeah. I was always known as the troublemaker.
Didn't you say you rode a bike down that hill?
Oh, that wasn't Irish Hill, but we had a one-lane road going over from Shorty's over to Granddad's Bluff.
Oh,
okay. It's a one-lane road. Well, I didn't know it till years later. I could have met a girl, which we did end up meeting, and we stood up for each other's wedding. Or I stood up for her wedding. She stood up my wedding. But she lived close enough to me. We could have been friends all these years, but we never met. And but this one-lane road would go over the Willard boys, the farm over there where we would go play. Well, I always had this little bike, and the chain was always fall off, and they would laugh at me and go way ahead of me, and I'd be coming up behind them with my little bike, and my dad, I want a bigger bike, a better bike. No, Dad says, no, you'll just hurt yourself. You stick with that bike. So I joined this contest down at Major Drugs. And you stand outside, I did, and the rest of them didn't, nobody else did it. I stand outside and hand you my number. And if you bought a pack of cigarettes for 25 cents or 15 cents, I get 15 votes.
Ooh.
So I would have everybody up in Shorty's, can you stop and just get a pack of gum and some cigarettes, or, you know, trying to promote? Well, I won they had little prizes every week. I won every one of them. And then I won the bike, and it was a 3-speed English racer. Brakes on the handles, was as pretty as can be. And I told my dad when I got home with the bike, how come you didn't come and see me win that bike? And they took pictures of everything. And he goes, that bike won't last a week. I said, why not? You said, you'll smash it up. I made it more than that because it was cold and snowy and wet out. And once it cleared up, sure enough, I raced the neighbor kids with my brother and went down the hill and slid with my bike. I had gauze from the top of my head all the way around my face, around my neck, around the dirt in my eye for over a year. I had to wear a patch on my right eye, and my bike was demolished. And my dad, all he could say is, I knew it. I told you. So I went back to my little bike. Yeah, that was a bad. That was really a bad accident.
Yeah.
That my brother was looking for my eye.
Oh my gosh.
He said, "We gotta find her eye," because they couldn't see my eye because it was so full of everything, you know. And all of a sudden I went, I can see. I think my eye is in there. So they put me on the back of my brother's bike. Had a little seat like this. And my mom seen me almost passed out. And then my dad, a guy at the bar, took me in because he was tending bar. So I went with some stranger to the hospital.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I was a mess.
Well, what were some of your family gatherings like?
That was at one time when my dad was home. That was very strict. At 5 o'clock, you sit down at a table. It wasn't quite this big, and you all had a meal together. You didn't go out playing or come in late. You were there when it was supper time. And of course, my brother had to sit over there. My youngest brother, he's one above me. Him and I fight all the time. So he had to sit over there, and I had to sit here. We always parted. Never could sit next, not at church or nothing. And we would have our sit-down meals. And then he'd have somebody in the bar run the bar while he ate, and then he'd go right back out to work. But
was that at the table in the kitchen there?
Yep.
I remember that round table.
It was it was more of a sort of like this. It wasn't a total square. It wasn't round. And it was red stripes like this. You know, I can
Was
eyeball.
that the original bar
Yeah.
where you had that table? Because I don't remember that table.
Yeah, I don't remember a round table. Where do you see a round table?
In the kitchen there, right? But I remember like the refrigerator there and then the table there.
Yeah, you're right.
And then the kitchen area around, for cooking and
Yeah.
dishes and stuff.
I don't remember it being round. You always spread out like this. Maybe they got, that might be one, maybe she got a different one down the road or something.
Yeah.
But when us kids sat down, at the time you're talking about, we had our meals together.
What were holidays like?
Oh boy.
Oh, everybody, my mom would feed everybody in the moon. You didn't have a place to go to, you come here. We cooked like 2 turkeys and food. She would cook from the day before Thanksgiving, all night. She'd we go to midnight mass. She'd get home and nap until 5 in the morning, back up, and there goes the meal again. And we'd eat about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon and feed. It was no longer at this table. It was out in the bar. Mm-hmm. It was, and we're still friends with some of these people that came to those Thanksgiving dinners and Easter dinners. Paul Carlson, can't think of all their names, but they're still all family friends to this day. And Paul still lives down by me in Florida even. So, yeah.
She used to pickle watermelon rinds.
Oh,
They
okay.
were good. I remember that.
And I didn't like them. I like pickles, but not watermelon. Beets, everybody says it. Beets, here's the beets. I like them, but not that much.
I remember the Christmas tree and lots of presents.
Oh.
Just full of presents, and everybody had a new dress.
Yeah, everybody had a new dress. Us kids hardly ever had anything. My mom was all about Christmas and holidays. You'd get a new outfit every holiday. And otherwise, you never see presents or anything. And at Christmas, where did all that stuff come from? It was, like Linda said, presents all over, the biggest tree you could think of. It was a lot to her, to my mom. Us kids, you're just overwhelmed. And of course, my mom, I was a tomboy. My mom wanted me to have a doll. This ain't working out. And she gave me a wedding doll once. I said, number one, I don't like dolls. Number two, I'm never getting married. I did. Yeah, holidays were unbelievable. I don't know if any family, and I don't think it's necessary, but that was my mom. She shopped all year for all these presents. And where'd she hide them? Us kids used to play hide and go seek. You'd think we'd find them. But she
Probably in that storage. I remember that storage. It was real deep.
Yeah, underneath the steps, like.
Yeah, the bathroom was there, and in that big storage area.
Yeah, you couldn't get into it. She probably had it blocked off, knowing her. Yeah, and we all got surprised by what we got. I mean, it's like, when did she wrap all that? Oh, I couldn't imagine. I can't tolerate 3 or 4 presents.
Probably when everybody was sleeping.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you say Uncle Wally built the bottle chute?
The bottle chute. When we had the new Shorties, on top of Irish Hill, my uncle designed it was round like this, huge, real huge. And that he had it, so it had a motor on it, and it rotated. And then when you took your bottles, you put it down a chute, and they'd go down the chute, and then it had these screens. They'd go like this. So the bottle would slow down, so when it got to the bottom, hit the other glass, it wouldn't break. You still had some breakage, but not a lot, the way he designed it. Then my brother and I, we had to go down there and put gloves on and clean that bottle chute with all that glass in there. And then we had to get in there with shovels and shovel the broken glass. And they lost a lot of money, 2 cents, I think, at that time, 2 cents a bottle. They lost a lot of money when those broken glasses, so and yet when we're talking about that bottle chute, you still had to separate your bottles. The only one that we couldn't alleviate from was, I believe it was the All-Star one, was too tall. Mm-hmm. All the rest of all the same size, so we could put blats in with paps. Mm-hmm. At one time we couldn't even do that. Then towards the end, for some reason, it just changed. And then there was one beer hauler, or one beer that got smart to that and just made their bottle a little bit too tall, so we couldn't shut the lid.
I remember hearing those bottles going down the chute.
Yeah, bing, 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 bing. And we sleeping in this basement. Between that and hearing the bands upstairs.
Right.
Oh, and I was all about being upstairs. I wanted to be up where the bands were. Oh, I couldn't sleep half the time because I want to get upstairs and dance. My mom finally gave in a lot of times and just let me go. I wasn't sleeping anyways when I was up. But you're going to work.
Right.
I had to empty the tables, empty bottles, and then I could go out and dance. I think that's where I get my speed from. Get it done and get out there and play.
Where was your mom raised? Was she raised in Stoddard?
No, she was born in Gregory, South Dakota.
Oh. And
then she went to college in Minneapolis. and you might know some of this better than I do, Linda, became a nanny. And when she became a nanny's house, she met my dad. And her sister was a nanny also. And she was
the same house?
Huh?
Was it the same house?
No, I don't think they were in that same house, but the same area. And Evie was going for beautician school. And Mom, I don't know what she was going to college for. And then my aunt was dating my dad. And then somehow my mom and my dad hit it off, and poor Aunt Evie. But they weren't just best sisters for a while, but they got over it.
Yeah, I noticed one picture of Evie and Grandpa kind of torn a little bit, and I kind of thought, oh, I wonder if that was in a little bit of rage there.
Oh, might have been, because there was a little unhappiness there for a while. Aunt Evie told me the story. My mom never told me that story, so I think her past was her past, and she didn't want to talk about it. Evie was like this. She would talk about it.
What was the background of your dad then? Was he he was from Minneapolis area?
My dad was from not Elma.
Alma Center.
Elma Center. And then he went in the service, and then that's how he met my mother. And then his brother was the president of the bank in Elma Center when it got robbed.
Oh.
How many years? Well, that's many years.
Got robbed twice.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one time he was at lunch and the bell didn't ring. His clerk would always ring the bell. He'd go, I better go check what's going on. He went up there, and he found her dead on the floor, and they shot her.
Wow.
Yeah, so, that's where my dad was raised, in Elma Center. And I'm pretty sure it was in Minneapolis where he met my mom. And courted each other. And
wound up in Stoddard.
Ended up in Stoddard, Wisconsin. How that? Farming. My dad was raised on a farm, but I wouldn't say he was much of a farmer. No, I don't think any of us. But it's our family, farmers. And nobody's usually bartenders or well, there's a few. I forgot. There is a couple cousins that opened up a bar. Yeah, so mostly our family. My brothers all did it. Not Dwayne.
Not Dwayne. No.
Roger, Al, and Al always talked me into trying to get a bar, and I went, oh gosh, no. That's no life. Not for if you're going to raise kids. It wasn't the right way to raise kids. So, yeah, I don't know. I can't think of anything. I probably think of a whole bunch of things when I go home. Oh, I should have told her this.
Well, we can always do another take two. So.
I remember the story about great grandpa, your dad's dad, and driving to church using the horse and buggy, and then the neighbor going by in their car, and leave grandpa and the family in the dust,
Oh,
all these people, what do they need a car for, and then it wasn't long where they got a car.
I don't remember that story. That's funny. But your mom must have told you that.
Yeah, I don't remember who wrote that. Somebody did.
Oh, yeah, she reads we have a family book, and she reads it better. I've read some.
No, just a few.
Just a few?
Separate from the book, yeah. Here and there.
Yeah, when something comes up in a family, and I'll look up that family and try to learn more about them. So I've read some of it, a lot to read.
Did you go to church on the Ridge then, when Shorty's was there, and then?
When we were up on the Ridge itself, until I was 5, they went to church in St. Joseph Ridge, and then we ended up going to church in Blessed Sacrament.
Oh, okay. So you do that every Sunday then?
Yeah, every Sunday. And then, going to a Catholic school, you went Monday through Friday. I think we had one day, I think it was Friday, we didn't have to go to church. Wow, Yeah.
It sounds like you had a happy childhood. And
yeah, it wasn't the best being brought up in a bar. It's not like, it wasn't normal. Far from normal. That's
adventurous.
Adventurous. I can say my childhood was never boring. There was something going on all the time. But
if there wasn't, you made it happen.
Yes, us kids, we played in the woods all the time. My brother had he said it was a tree house, a hideout. Oh, us girls had to know where that was. We went in the woods for hours and hours and hours. I don't think we ever did find it. Following the cow paths. And he probably never just had to give us something to do. I'll tell you, it's a bad story. I was kind of a snoop. Trust me, I learned my lesson. No more snooping in other people's things. My brother, I get so mad because I wait till he's sleeping and I go snoop in his drawers. So he loaded the bottom drawer with rocks, and I waited till they were sleeping, and I snuck in his bedroom. Oh, and the drawer dropped on my feet and broke all my toes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I couldn't walk for weeks.
Oh, jeez.
I'm screaming in pain. My mom and dad come, and they turned the light on, the pole light. Al's sitting there.
Right.
Told you not to snoop. You got punished too.
Yeah.
Not as bad as I can't remember. I don't think my little toes got broke. Well, you can even see where they were broke. You know, I got pretty ugly toes.
Yeah, I never heard that story.
Yeah. Well, Al and I get together and we can tell you all kinds of bad stories. We were naughty kids. We didn't have that much supervision. Mom and Dad are busy. Let's go do something. We're usually trouble. The neighbors, I don't know how they put up with us.
Oh.
There is a lot to tell, but...
Yes, there is. Well, thank you for participating, and we can always do another round.
Okay.
If you look back through pictures or articles or something, and we can, I remember that I should have told this story.
And you do.
Right.
And I not laid awake, but I'll be laying in bed and I go, now what is she going to be interested in? What could I tell her, But everybody said, well, you're not going to tell her about everybody running in the basement. I go, what? That's the history.
That's right.
And that's what people want to hear. And
That's
people
right.
want to know if that's true.
Right.
At Lindy Shannon, a guy told me, well, I heard those stories, but I didn't believe them. I said, oh, yeah, they were. So I think that's it for me. I don't know.
Well, thank you very much, Rita, for sitting down and talking to us about your life and your memories and your mom and dad and the bar and bands and just life in La Crosse in general in the area. That's very valuable.
Yep, and La Crosse is a very valuable place to live, and it's very valuable that we have you here at the library. Thank you.